What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're featuring a team with Guzzlord, Palossand, and Wormadam, brought to me from the Patreon Discord. So, this team wouldn't have existed without that Discord terminal sub. Thank you for the team, my friend. And if you were looking to get into these teams before they hit YouTube, and I mean, some of the teams come out of that Discord aren't even mine, but some of them are absolutely cracked like this one was. You can join that by becoming a YouTube member or hitting the Patreon link in the description of the pinned comment. Let's get into the battles here and check out how Guzzlord and Wormadam work in tandem to destroy this meta. Let's start with a Galvantula, not a Gravantula. It's a Galvantula, okay? So we're going to see the opponent staying in here. Their lunges would do super effective damage, but they are throwing on alignment, which gives me a free Dragon Tail through. And so the lunge is going to lower my attack, but if my opponent's not willing to swap out, then neither am I, because honestly, Wormadam's not, I mean, Wormadam's okay here, but I would really rather get rid of this Galvantula anyway. Palossand would be an extremely hard wall to it, and I would like that alignment, but I have to wait and see what my opponent decides to do. My opponent decides to strip themselves of both their shields, and I'm going to go ahead and shield myself as well. If they are weak in the back to Guzzlord, my Guzzlord still being this healthy, kind of nuts. So they come in with a Froslass here, and I really don't have a super strong answer to Froslass. So I do take some avalanche damage, or some powder snow damage, and go for the crunch here to lower the attack, and then come in with my Wormadam, and we even get the defense drop, which is huge. But they would still need at least 2 charge moves to KO me here, or 2 Shadow Balls, and I don't think that they would be able to get to them. Get a little bit of lag here. Opponent, maybe they don't charge it, so they decide just to quit at this point, I think. I'm not sure. It was kind of weird app stuff going on there, so good game to my opponent. Anyway. So getting into the next game here, we've got Guzzlord on the lead versus Beedrill. Opponent has a poison type, so I'm going to swap into my Wormadam here, as that would be a realistic thing. I don't know. I think I was going to just wait and see if they swap first, because sometimes, you know, opponent sees Guzzlord and they're like, oh, I have 2 things in the back. Sometimes it happens, right? But I'm going to come with my Wormadam, my opponent not swapping out, and he's swapping a little bit late, which allows my Wormadam to get to a Bug Buzz, which is going to completely eviscerate this Greninja if they don't shield it. But they do. Now, here's the thing about Wormadam. It draws out the Greninja, which is one of Palossand's hardest counters, or Runerigus, and Guzzlord walls it completely and can just farm it down for a lot of energy. So I've drawn out the Greninja. My Palossand should be pretty free now, plus we get a huge Dragon Tail down here, and that Beedrill is not going to be appreciating all this damage. So gonna go ahead and no-shield these moves here. I might shield up this one. Yeah, I shield up this one just because it might do quite a bit of damage. I want to keep my Guzzlord somewhat healthy, and then we're going to take out the Greninja. Now, in this game, I don't know what they have in the bag. I'm not sure if I should bring in my Palossand or not, but my opponent leaves themselves with almost no HP on their Beedrill, so I'm going to just come in, and I overfarm by 1 too many. I should have just thrown the Scorching Sands immediately, but there's one thing that I want to keep in mind here is that if I had done that, they could have overfarmed. So now, because my Guzzlord is resisting all their fast move damage, and they have to throw a Sludge Bomb effectively to KO here, I am going to come back in with Guzzlord and just continue to go for my moves here, and look to just farm down. My opponent needs 2 charge moves, I'm not going to let him have it, and then Beedrill is just too low for the it's too low for them to get to a charge move, so that's going to be a good game. Jumping into the next battle here, we're going to have Guzzlord on the lead versus another Greninja. I'm saying, dude, Guzzlord is so strong in anything that's not a fairy type. I mean, truthfully. So we're going to come ahead and go into the Wormadam here, and then we're going to go ahead and going to go for some confusions. He's out there like, all right. Somebody's out there making some noise. Kind of getting walled here, unfortunately, by the moveset of my the Toxapex is walling the moveset of my Wormadam, rather. So I am going to be able to go for a Bug Buzz, but the confusion damage is really what matters here. So because I know that Toxapex is not going to be able to farm me all the way down, I'm simply going to go for a full confusion down here and look to use this energy on the other end when that, I think it was a Greninja. I'm pretty sure it was a Greninja. Yeah, when the Greninja comes back in, I'm going to go for the Bug Buzz here and look to get their other shield here, and then we're just, or a shield, I should say. Man, see, they're making noise out there. It's messing me up, man. And I'm already too far in. I'm not making another cut of this. So they go for the Night Slash to KO the Wormadam. Guzzlord is still on this thing, and they come in with a Froslass, and at this point, this is very, very hard, because I could throw the crunch here. They shield it. So I have to stay in here. My Palossand is once again useless. It's funny. The funny thing about this team was I'm like, oh, dude, Palossand, we're going to get some Carbinks and some Nidoqueens with this thing. It's going to be great. And Palossand, literally, aside from like 1 or 2 battles, which stay here to the end if you're still watching for that battle, Palossand just comes in to get bodied. It becomes a body bag and eats moves. That's all it's been doing. So almost taking out my Palossand. Opponent quickly swaps back in their Greninja here and throws a charge move, and I'm going to have to call whether this is a Night Slash or not, and I do, and the opponent goes for the Night Slash. The Hydro Cannon would have been almost enough to KO, but they get a boost. The opponent farming up extra energy, knowing that they either need to farm me all the way down or get the 2 charge moves. They're not able to do it. The Dragon Claw KOs, and Froslass will not get the win. Getting into the next battle here, we've got Guzzlord versus an Azumarill. Terrible, nasty little core breaker that Azumarill is. So I'm going to swap my Wormadam. My opponent counters with a Sableye. This is looking really bad already, but keep watching. Okay? We had a 5-0 and a 4-1 with this team, and those are the only 2 sets of it that I played because I was trying out a bunch of stuff in the Halloween Cup on Friday's stream. But this is going to be able to either get a shield or do some damage. I go for the Iron Head. Probably should have gone for the Bug Buzz, to be honest, but I wanted to try and force them to throw their energy sooner. So they do, which is great. And once again, one of the harder answers to Palossand is out, but I also have to deal with the stupid Azumarill. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to manage myself very carefully. It's all going to come down to what's in the back, to be honest. The only way that I win this game is if I can somehow get Palossand a huge energy advantage and be able to hit the Azumarill with a bunch of charge moves. Now, going to go for this farm down. Unfortunately, not able to get it. The opponent gets to a move on 1 HP and a Dream, but it's just a foul play, and I know they didn't get to the return. So I'm going to let it go, and then I'm going to have to throw this energy into the Azumarill to try and get rid of it. I can't swap out here because the opponent has way too much HP, and my Palossand is just going to go down to basically a charge move and some bubbles. So I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to preserve my Palossand in the back and just wait and pray. I get no crunch debuffs, which is absolutely normal for me. I never get debuffs when I need them. I only get them, like, you know, when the opponent has 2 HP left or something like that. So we're going to go for these crunches here. And we're going to be able to see if the opponent they have Ice Beam, okay. But I come in, and the opponent chickens out and brings in a Charge Bug, which is a huge mistake, and I think that this is where the win condition is spotted. If the opponent runs Crunch, I'm done. But if they have Discharge X-Scissor, we're chilling, and they have X-Scissor, which means that we have a chance here. So I'm going to max out on energy, going for Scorching Sands. Probably should have just gone for 1 and then the Scorching Sands. My win condition here is coming out of this matchup with at least 2 Scorching Sands, or close enough to it, with the Azumarill being as far from a move as it is with the bubbles. Goodness, I had a stroke in this attempt. Oh my god. So basically, I just need to make sure that I come out of this matchup with the move loaded here and be able to get through that shield and get through the opponent's leftover HP. So we're gonna go for the Scorching Sands here. Gonna be able to get the shield from the opponent. No attack drop. Opponent going for a move here, and because I know that they can't have back-to-back moves, that means that we're going to be able to get to the Scorching Sands after 1 mud shot and take the win out of what normally probably would have been an unwinnable game, because this is the only thing that made me win that game, is the opponent decided to swap out. So good game. Getting into the next battle here, we're going to have Guzzlord on the lead versus an Alolan Marowak, a very, very good lead here. And we have some play against it with the Palossand. My opponent's staying in here, which means to me that they've probably got something in the back that's extremely weak to Guzzlord. So I am going to have to stay in and take this out, though unfortunately I cannot swap out. My opponent does it for me, so I'm going to go for some energy here, and then I'm going to swap out of my Guzzlord into the Wormadam. Now, I should have probably come in with the Palossand, let's be honest. I could have, banked the Scorching Sands probably, and I would have been fine. All of Wormadam's energy is essentially walled by the Alolan Marowak here, but I figured at the very least what I could do is use this as an opportunity to get some more farm on Guzzlord, because the switch clock is not even close to being up yet. I can come straight back in with my Guzzlord and go for a charge move here, try to take out this Alolan Marowak before they can get a chance to do anything about it. They shield up the Marowak, and I'm going to go for an extra Dragon Tail here as they throw a charge move. It's just going to be a Bone Club most likely, but at this point I could very well farm them down, and they are going to come in after going down with the Marowak with a Greninja. So we have effectively core broken once again with Guzzlord, and effectively Palossand is useless yet again. So we're probably going to end up using it to absorb some energy. I throw it in here to make my opponent throw the move, and I'm just like, hey, you can have it. He's probably going to throw Night Slash here, but they go straight for the Hydro Cannon and one-shots it, and takes out my poor little Sandcastle. I have to shield this here, and then I also have to hope that I can get 2 moves here without them getting to another charge move. So I'm just going to throw the back-to-back Dragon Claws here to take out the Greninja, and that's going to be a good game if they weren't in a move, and thankfully they weren't. So this is going to take out Greninja, and Guzzlord, once again, doing almost all the work on this team. Good game to my opponent. Into the next game, we're going to have Guzzlord on the lead versus a Shadow Scizor. This is bad. I'm not gonna lie. This thing core breaks me so bad because it gets to Night Slashes so fast. It's an absolutely nightmare lead for, or nightmare matchup for Palossand. Wormadam doing resisted and very slow confusion damage. And look, IVs on this team, like, right? 9-5-14 for my Wormadam, 8-3-10 for my Guzzlord. Like, I ain't got nothing good here. 8-14-11 for Palossand. This is just the best of what I have on these Pokemon. Opponent shields up the is shielding up the Bug Buzz. So this kind of tells me that they're probably weak in the back. They may have double poison or something else in the back that beats Guzzlord. So I'll probably come back in with my Guzzlord here if I remember correctly. And we're going to look to do some Dragon Tail. I'm going to come back up with the Guzzlord here. And I'm going to be, I mean, this is probably an X-Scissor. So I'm going to shield it up. And then they go for the X-Scissor. So it's a good thing I shielded that because that would have done a ton of damage to my poor little Guzzy. And the opponent's going to go down to a few fast moves. And in the back, they have a Tapu Fini. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness, indeed. Tapu Fini does resisted water gun damage here, so it's not a bad matchup for my Guzzlord, but I immediately pop in with my Palossand, hoping to maybe lure out whatever they have in the back, hoping that they want to keep switch advantage. But it looks like they stay in, and they stop tapping for a moment. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to let this go. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay, no, this time I go for the move, and they have a Dragalge in the back, and at this point, the win condition has opened up. The opponent having something that's weak to ground in the back, we can go for the Scorching Sands here, get the shield, and my opponent over-farming on energy, probably realizing that they need an Outrage in order to take out that Guzzlord. I'm going to undercharge this. Thankfully, it does not KO here, because I needed to get the farm with my Guzzlord in order to take out the Tapu Fini. And that's a good game. Getting into the next battle here, we are going to have Guzzlord against the Golbat. Very neutral matchup, both of us doing completely neutral damage to one another, but I am going to go ahead and get some chip damage off. Palossand could hit it with a Shadow Ball later in the game, and Wormadam doing a lot of damage with those Shadow Confusions, so I'm going to bank the energy on my Wormadam and swap in, and the opponent swaps into Toxicroak. And I'm like, this is either a bad misclick or the opponent doesn't have an answer to Wormadam in the back. So we're going to see them go for the Mud Bomb. I'm going to tank it on the chin, and Golbat is going to come back in. And this absolutely tells me they have no answer in the back to Wormadam. But Wormadam has done its job. It's taken out over half their team. They just go for the Poison Fang here. I didn't think it was going to be a Shadow Ball. I'm going to go for the Iron Head here and look to see if they want to shield. Nope, in the back, they have a Nidoqueen. And because Nidoqueen is doing double resisted damage with those poison jabs, I'm going to be able to get to an Iron Head even with my defense dropped, and then Palossand can come in and clean this game up for me. Finally, Palossand being useful. Good game. Getting into the next battle here, we got Scizor on the lead. Again, not so good for me. Going straight to Wormadam because it worked last time. Figured I might as well try it again, right? So we're going to see what the opponent wants to do here. I'm going to go for a ton of energy, and the opponent comes in with a Greninja. Now, all that energy on that Scizor is very, very hard to deal with, but the opponent giving me an early shield here is huge. Shadow Scizor is extremely squishy, so just about any neutral charge move here would do a ton of damage to it. So I could, hit it with a Scorching Sands or Shadow Ball later in the game, for example. But the opponent going to be able to get a perfect Hydro Cannon and able to knock me out here. Now, I make a mistake, and I believe I remember this game. If I go for the Dragon, I go for a CMP here after the next one, and that was a mistake. I should just farm down or make sure I throw early. I'm not going to lie, dude. Greninja's energy is sometimes hard to keep track of. Like, it goes between 2, 3, so many. I know as soon as you throw a Night Slash in there, typically, yeah, this is the game that it was. Yeah, if you throw a Night Slash in there, it throws my counts off, and I'm just like, I have no idea how much energy this thing has. But going to be able to get the perfect... No, it's not. I lied. I thought it was going to be perfect. But I figured that this is just a Night Slash, but it's a Hydro Cannon. So I'm just going to get bodied. Palossand's going to come in and not even going to be able to get a farm down. I misplayed the absolute heck out of this game, and I have to own it. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I just play like doo-doo, okay? The opponent's going to come in with their Scizor and go for a couple of Night Slashes, and they're just going to clobber me into oblivion. So this is going to be a good game for, unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to come back from this one. So the opponent's going to be able to get to 2 more Night Slashes to take care of my shield, or they could probably just bullet punch me out. But they let it go, and then they have a Froslass in the back. So I had a little glimmer of hope, and then they're like, here's Froslass for you. Good game. Getting into the next game here, we've got Guzzlord against a Greninja. Best lead you could possibly ask for. And the opponent swaps in a Swalot, and I can counter immediately into my Wormadam. Now, Wormadam is obviously the feature in this video, and my voice just cracked. I am practically pubescent. We're going to see me be able to completely confuse him down. That's going to allow me to have a Bug Buzz and then some. Almost 2 Bug Buzzes ready to go here before the opponent gets to come back in with their Greninja. And because I know that the Ice Beam and Sludge Bomb are the only moves that this Swalot typically has in this league, I'm completely content to not throw any energy because I don't need to. And so they're going to hit me with the Ice Beam, and they are going to be able to farm me down with their Greninja, but it's not going to do a whole lot for them, as 2 Bug Buzzes, or the threat of 2 Bug Buzzes, is going to be an extremely hard thing for them to deal with. So they're going to go for a couple more Water Shurikens here, and they throw before I can get to the Bug Buzz. They had to respect it. You don't want to give up 2 shields already, so I'm going to be able to keep alignment on my Guzzlord here. And the opponent staying in, and then they come in with a Golbat. And at this point, yeah, Golbat's not exactly Palossand's best friend, but if I can get the shield from the opponent here, which unfortunately I don't, I was kind of hoping to, but now at this point, I'm expecting to use Palossand as a meat shield once again. I know Guzzlord can easily clean up this game, but the opponent goes for a double-resisted Poison Fang, and I'm going to be able to go for a Scorching Sands to KO the Golbat, and then we're going to be able to let Palossand once again eat energy from the Greninja. The opponent is not going to be able to take this game, unfortunately, for them. 2-shield Guzzlord, rather, is going to be a bit too strong and too much for this poor Greninja to take care of. They were definitely hoping for the boost there with that Night Slash, but I'm just going to 2-shield farm down. I don't even have to shield the first one. I can just no-shield this first move here and then just continue to farm down. I don't need to throw any energy because I'm not going to get the 2 Dragon Claws before they would be able to survive it. So, going to be able to take this one here. Night Slash not going to do anything with that shield, and that's a good game. Into the next battle here, we're going to have Guzzlord on the lead versus a Carbink. This is one of the hardest losses for Guzzlord. So I've immediately got to dip into the Wormadam save swap here. And the opponent comes in with a Shadow Drapion. This is really not a good matchup, but because my Confusions are only single resisted, we are able to do some chip damage. Now my opponent goes for the Crunch, and with the Shadow boost, that Crunch will 2-shot my poor little Wormy. So I am going to have to go for a Bug Buzz and hope to get the shield here. If I can't win switch, I'm hoping that the opponent, obviously now showing that they have Drapion in the back, means that they really aren't respecting ground types at all. So I am going to hopefully be able to bring in Palossand and go for a sweep here. But the opponent, Poison Stings don't do enough damage, and I'm able to get to an Iron Head at the last second, and that gives me switch advantage. So now I can keep my Guzzlord off of it. Palossand gets to do something for once, coming in against this Carbink, and I am hoping that whatever's in the back is weak to Guzzlord. Palossand gonna go for the Scorching Sands, not getting a shield, but doing a ton of damage to this Carbink, and I'm gonna shield this next move if they throw it, because I have to respect a potential Moonblast. And that's it. If I get hit with a Moonblast, it's probably over. So the opponent's staying in here in a bad matchup. I'm overloading on energy, and I wait 1 turn there to see if they're going to swap out or if they go for another Rock Throw, which they do. They let that through, and they have Nidoqueen in the back, and there's absolutely no chance for them to win this game. My Palossand is going to go for the Scorching Sands and take out the Nidoqueen just about. And that's a good game. Well played to my opponents, Guzzlord and Wormadam putting in most of the work here. Palossand being the sacrificial shield, but that's okay because we still went 9-1 with this team, and it got us a bunch of elo. And I know that I'm already legend, but that's still important because this team could get you that elo and get you closer to legend, which is exactly why I'm down in this elo, because I don't really want to play in the 3000s. It's kind of boring and the queue time sucks. So that's gonna do it for today's video, y'all. Thank you so much for coming in and checking out the video. Let me know in the comments what team you're running in the Halloween Cup. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.